Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here from Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan with something a little different today, something I don't know that I've ever specifically done. I'm going to do an accessory review today. I don't know about you. I don't personally go camping to spend all of my time inside the RV. I like to get outside. I want to be under the awning, under the sun. I like to disconnect and unplug. That being said, I really like camp kitchens. Not even so much for the cooking space, but just be able to have like maybe a place to wash your hands. But more importantly, what I love to call Dad's medicine cabinet. That big refrigerator right there, keeping the drinks outside, keeping the party going, so you're not tracking dirt in and out of the RV. The trick is, I tend to camp in a camper that does not have an outside kitchen. So what I have is I inherited my grandparents' old little Green Coleman cooler on the outside of here, the old aluminum skin ones. It's got a couple good dents and some good character built into it. And I bet if that thing could tell some stories, they'd be some humdingers. But, which is not a word you get to hear enough nowadays. But, I would like a camp kitchen, but there's kind of a catch-22 on these. Like, a lot of these trailers nowadays have these awesome 12-volt DC compressor fridges inside. But most of the time, these outside refrigerators like this thing right here, they're usually still 110 only. So I started thinking, is there a better way of going about this? And it's funny. Sometimes you put a question out in the universe, and the universe provides. And my answer came in the form of an email from a company named Joy Tudis. They reached out and said, "Hey Josh, we found your channel. We love the information you provide. And we don't make campers, but we make something here that I think a lot of campers could benefit from. And it's not just a big giant cooler. I've already got one of them. Chances are you do too. It's actually a small portable refrigerator and freezer. And it works off either 12-volt DC or 110 power. Basically what that means is you can plug it into like any household outlet that has live power running to it, and it's going to fire right up. Or you could plug it into something equivalent to like a cigarette lighter plug and make this thing ultra portable. And it's that dual power source function, being able to operate off 110 or 12 volt, that made me think this is something that could really work well for a lot of RVers. Again, very flexible use. You could use it on, I tell you what, I could get one of these. I could put this on the back porch of my house when it's summertime and I got friends over, so I'm not trucking inside and outside of the house getting drinks all day. That would be useful. And that same mentality I think applies to RVing here, but again, the way that you could use it in place of or in supplement to an outside kitchen. Or there's a lot of people who go, can I take the fridge out of the outside kitchen because I'm going to boondock and that doesn't do me any good if I'm not running a generator all the time. This is something that might still work for you with that 12-volt functionality. What we're going to do here, I'm actually going to park it around a couple different areas throughout a camper, even in the back of my car, just to give you a sense of the size and the scope, because these come in two sizes. There's a 40-liter, and what we're looking at today is the larger 50-liter size. So if this can fit somewhere, the 40-liter size is certainly going to fit anywhere as well. I will leave a link to these in the description down here where you can get your own right from Amazon. Again, I am not a paid promoter. This is something that I said I will absolutely look at it under the condition that I get to provide my unbiased, unfiltered feedback and review here. So we'll see what we really get. I'm going to move it around, park it in a couple different spots, and then I'm going to see how much stuff I can shove inside it. Then I'm going to let it run for about an hour, see how cold it gets, and we'll report back. Now, one of the first things I thought about is where am I going to store it when I'm traveling? And I kind of thought, you know what, tucked up right next to the bed, would it fit right there? And look at this. It slots right in next to a mattress, like up in a master bedroom for a travel trailer or fifth wheel, very easily with room to spare. So it's definitely something that doesn't eat up a lot of cargo space. And I tell you what, the handles on this thing, first of all, I'm an idiot when it comes to tools. And the instructions to set all this up to put the handles on, very simple, not complicated. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's got a really good feel. These are like really heavily spring loaded. So they're not like constantly flipping up and getting in your way and like catching on stuff. When you're not using them, they're hanging down. And when you need to grab them, they fold right up where your hands can get to them. Moving this around, it is a bit hefty with the weight. But, I mean, what cooler loaded with stuff isn't? It's not too hard to move around. The handles are also at a really good height on this where I felt like I could really heft it up to chest level. And it's something that I could move around pretty easily. Now, I didn't mean to flex on you like this, but yes, this is my 2013 Kia Soul. I don't want to brag. If you weren't familiar, this is a European muscle car imported here to North America. We'll go with that. And the reason I wanted to use this is because it has a small hatchback. And I thought if this bigger 50-gallon thing could fit in here, then the 40-gallon one or something similar should absolutely fit no problem. And what I like about this is it definitely fits in here even without folding the rear seat down, so I can still have 4 people in the car. I would say 5, but you ain't fitting 5 people in this car. The other thing is, what a lot of folks forget is you got room for the cooler. I still got room for extra bags, but you often forget that there's a 12-volt power plug in the back of a lot of vehicles nowadays. And again, I've never done a little accessory review like this before, not like this, where a third party has sent me something and said, hey, go nuts, man. And I kept waiting for the bomb to go off. Like I kept saying, okay, so it's 12 volt and 110. Do you have to buy the adapter separate? No, everything is included. The 110 adapter, the 12 volt DC adapter. And like I said, a lot of vehicles have an appropriate power plug right there. But even if it doesn't, that is a slug of cable. If I had to, I could string that up into the cigarette lighter in my vehicle. Do they still call it a cigarette lighter nowadays? I don't know. Anyway, I know they called it that when I was growing up, but I guess I'm starting to get old. The other thing is, you know how like when you put together office furniture and the little wheels and the arms and stuff need some funky little Allen wrench and you get finger cramps trying to do it? As silly as it sounds, the fact that no more than you need it, just for like 8 screws to put on these handles, they actually ship with it a pretty, decent, easy to use little Allen wrench tool, which I wish more companies would get on board with that. Again, I've got a whole drawer full of crappy Allen wrenches that have come with various furniture over my years, and I hope more of them fit this because I'm going to keep that around. That is going to be handy right there. But like I said, it doesn't eat up a lot of space. I could power it back here. I could power it up front. I don't care what kind of vehicle you have. Chances are this is something that could work for you. But of course, the million-dollar question, how much can I shove into it, and how good does it actually work? Well, I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm going to start putting cases of water into it, my lunchbox, anything I can shove inside this thing. Then I'm going to let it run for about an hour and come back, and we'll see what we get. All right. We are just going to start shoving bottles of water in this thing, in cases of water. I'm going to see how much I can get in here. And again, something that has impressed me is there's a lot of little fine details here I wasn't expecting. Because you look at it, it just looks like a cooler, and apparently it's got some kind of powered cooling unit. It's really well thought out. Listen. I don't know if you can hear that click, but it actually really latches in place. So if you're bouncing down an uneven road, it's not going to accidentally flip open and cause, I don't know what, to get everywhere. Then just little stuff like the little chain so it doesn't go flying open, if the wind catches it or something like that. Now, you may have noticed when we were outside, inside the freezer, there's actually this little basket right here. And what's kind of cool about this is, depending on how you want to load things up, like maybe you've got, beer bottles or something like that. I don't know, whatever works for you, whatever you want to put in here, ice cream, those little plastic popsicle things, they come in the plastic sleeve and they cut the corner of your mouth as a kid, but you loved them anyway, those little icy jobs. You could just pack this sucker full of stuff like that. That would be an awesome little outdoor camping treat. Or you could take it out and just leave this thing as wide open as you want. This could be like a wine fridge, cooler, freezer kind of thing. There's a lot of stuff it could do. So I'm going to load this up. We're going to see how much we can pack in here. Like I said, we'll turn it on. We'll see what we get. Holy cow. Well, there's a whole case. I'm going to have to go get another case. This thing's a little bit bigger than what I thought initially. Now, of course, along with the second case of water, I've got my world-famous lunchbox over here, which just it really screams tasty brain food, you know what I mean? I've got 7 bottles all packed up inside here. I'm going to stuff this thing in here with room to spare, and I'm just going to keep on going until this thing, peters out. I mean, it is not stopping. We're finally onto the refrigerator portion of this thing. This has been all freezer so far. Now, the freezer is definitely the biggest section of it. I have a suspicion that the refrigerator portion is kind of passively cooled by the active compressor cooled freezer side. But again, we are showing no signs of stopping anytime soon. And frankly, I think I might have actually been able to pack these in a little bit tighter. I'm certainly getting them in here. There's not a whole lot of room to spare. But on this side, I think I could have done a little bit more. All right. Holy crap. I've only got 6 bottles left here. Now here's the test. Like a glove. Okay, so this will be my first time powering it on, see how it goes. There's actually some battery protection levels over here, and those are for if you are going to be using it on a 12-volt setting. It says if you're using something like a 12-volt DC battery to keep it on high, otherwise keep it on medium or low. I'm plugged into 110, so I guess I'm going to put that on medium. That's the only thing I've noticed in the instructions that isn't super clear. The pop our little plug in here. That's nice and snug. That's not wiggling out anytime soon, and I heard some beeping. What are we going to see? All right, she is up and running here. I'm going to try to get the glare off the screen. This is going to be a little tricky. Okay, so just glancing at the instructions, you tap and hold the on button for about 3 seconds, and there you go. Now, what this is showing us is it's 63 degrees inside the box. If you want to change the target temperature, that's what these can do here for you. You can hold it, you can tap it, and after about 3 seconds of not doing anything, it will flip off there. Now, if you tap that little green snowflake, that will basically turn it from max auto or max cooling mode to green eco mode. The difference just being how aggressively that compressor is going to operate. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip it onto max mode to get it down to temp, because my suspicion is once it's down to temp, eco mode is something that's going to do just good for you. So an hour went by, I came back, cracked the lid. Well, first I just checked the display to see what the temp was reading inside, and only got down from about 63 to 57. I was like, that's weird. Then I opened the lid, and it kind of stared me in the face. Why? I packed this thing almost complete cubic foot full with little bottles of water, which actually does take quite a long time to cool down, especially with that quantity of it. So I back stripped out about half of it, and in about 20 minutes, the thing got down to 30, 32 degrees. So it can actually cool extremely quickly. I just failed in that I asked too much of it too quickly. Although, from what I've seen, it definitely would have got there. The compressor was clipping right along. Something else I've really noticed about it, I've got it sitting right in front of my workstation here. It ain't loud. Like you hear a little when it first kicks on, and that's it. Short of that, it runs quiet. It's not pumping heat into my little room over here. And I tell you what, it didn't take long. The bottles of water that I did have inside there, I didn't leave them in long enough to get frozen, because in the north, if you leave a can of soda in your car in the winter, you find out why we call it pop. I didn't want this to turn into an ice cube, then burst inside the fridge here. But overall, I'm pretty happy with what I saw. Like I said, you just got to give it a little time to cool down, and don't throw too much in it too quickly. But if it's going to be, again, like an all-day event where you're setting up in the morning, you set this thing out, you're going to have cold drinks. You're going to have cold drinks all day. If you're going to be traveling in a car, it's an awesome way to keep some food fresh. You know, something else I thought about, if you are traveling, I'm not diabetic, but I know some people that are, and I know sometimes you got to keep your supplies cold. That's not always easy when you're going to be traveling. So having the ability to keep your insulin and whatnot cold on the run, I think that's a really cool area where one of these things could work. You know, whether, like I said, you use it for outside the camper, I think you could keep it inside the camper. I think, you know, you keep the cheap cooler outside with the cheap beer, and then you keep the good stuff on the inside. That's where you're going to keep this right here. You could use it as an RV wine cooler. Again, nothing says you got to use it just in the RV. You could use it at home. I mean, I like this. I like this a lot. You know what this is to me? This is one of those things like heated steering wheels and ventilated seating on a car. When I first heard people talk about, oh, I don't want to buy it if it doesn't have heated steering, I'm like, are you serious? And then we got a car with heated steering and ventilated seating at my house, and I'm like, this is actually really nice. This seems like one of those things, oh, I don't need that. Once you've had one, though, it's really nice, and I don't know that I want to go camping without one now. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'll admit it's a little bit hefty, but other than that, but again, what big cooler full of stuff isn't? I don't really consider that too much of a knock against it. The ease of setup, the ease of operation. Like I was really concerned about that little touchpad, beep, beep, boop, 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 like pushing the buttons to get the temperature drop down, but it just works. It's simple, it's streamlined, it's smart, it's quiet, it's mobile. It passes the test. I'm going to call this RV Nerd Preferred right here. Rated N for Nerd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link for this in the video's description, straight off Amazon. I'm not paid for this. You buy those things, I don't get paid for this. I don't get 1 red cent for this. I just thought it was an interesting opportunity to look at a thing. And if you like little accessory reviews like this, let me know. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to work some more in over time. Short of that, as always, take care, stay safe, have fun, and check that link in the video description, everyone.